All right, let's talk about Jaylen Herz and the Philadelphia Eagles, who were able to, the final score looks like a dominant win against the Bengals. This was a competitive game for a good chunk of it, but ultimately the Eagles were able to run away at the end. So let's talk about how they were able to succeed and how they were ultimately able to win this game at the end handedly against a Cincinnati Bengals team that I still think is better than their record, even if they have some flaws. Let's start off with the play you see on your screen. It's going to be kind of one of those classic plays. You have A.J. Brown going over the middle. He used to do this all the time in Tennessee, less so with the Eagles, but it's gonna do it here as it makes sense. You can run a play action, which is what they're going to do, try and get some linebackers out of position. And when this play begins, there's actually a setup route that takes one of the linebackers mostly out of position. So when A.J. Brown gets here, he's just open. And this is something we saw at times in this game, which is being able to scheme guys wide open. And again, this is part of why it makes it so much easier to have a guy like A.J. Brown, because usually when you want to have these concepts work, you need 3 or 4 receivers running effective routes, or at least a couple of receivers running effective routes. Having a guy like A.J. Brown, but also other players now can sort of, slide into the number 2 and number 3 roles. It just makes everything run so much smoother. Hertz, of course, not going to miss that throw. They're able to pick up a big completion there, and A.J. Brown doing some nice stuff after the catch as well. It's good stuff here by Philadelphia. So, again, I think that there was kind of the talk of like, oh, are they too dependent on A.J. Brown? But hey, they have A.J. Brown, and he's really good, so who cares? Like, this play's another example of it, where it's a zone coverage concept. It's a 3rd and 16 here for Cincinnati. So, like, you think for the Bengals, hey, they're in an okay spot, right? Just get the stop here. You'll go into halftime up at least, 13, or at least 10-3. That would be nice. Except when this play begins, it's going to be a really well-ran route by Brown to kind of fake as though he's going further deep, but then he cuts back right here. And also really well-timed football by Jaylen Herz on this play, because it's not wide open, right? But you see how there's this little bit of a window. Hertz times this perfectly. Brown's able to kind of go up to make the grab, but then still fall backwards to get the first down. That's good stuff. The Eagles would score a touchdown on this drive, and now it's 10-10, completely changing the dynamic of the game. So being able to do that, it's just a huge, huge play by the Philadelphia Eagles. It really is. Also, a guy I got to shout out in this game is Grant Kerta, who here he's the backup tight end. Obviously, Dallas Goedert being the starter, but he had a couple nice catches here. This play again, it's just good concepts, just good solid football here by the Eagles, where they're going up against zone coverage. They have their 2 receivers towards the offense's left. Smith is going to run a route kind of going more underneath towards the middle of the field. Kerta's route is going more towards the sideline. Watch as when Hertz takes the snap. You see that definitely the corner is paying attention to Devonta Smith. And again, this is just the value of something like this, where you can put A.J. Brown on one side. That's where the best corner is going to line up. Now you can run a concept where Smith is being a decoy route on the other side, and lesser corners, quote unquote lesser corners, are going to put more attention into having to cover Smith. Now to have someone, player circled in yellow, wide open. Watch as Hertz doesn't help for the Bengals that the corner falls down, but still, I don't think it would have mattered. I think that was going to be a completion. Really good stuff here by the Eagles and again, when you have injuries, like, your team looks worse. It's not that surprising. Now that they're more healthy, you're seeing, this team look like what we saw last year, which again, I think people's perception of last year has gotten all warped. The Eagles were a good offense last year. They were a really good offense last year. Their defense really struggled, but their offense was great. And now their offense is still looking really good, and their defense has gotten a lot better. Heading over to a play like this is another thing that they can do. So this is a tied game with 10 minutes left in the third quarter, and they're going to run a design quarterback run, which this is the part of Hertz's game. He had 3 rushing touchdowns in this game, 1 passing touchdown, so 4 touchdowns total. This was one of them, and it's not even the tush push at the goal line. This is going to be, they're going to fake a handoff to Barkley, then Hertz is just going to run towards the top of the screen. When this play begins, you see him, fakes the handoff, and the edge rusher right there, again, has to be aware of a potential handoff, but if you do take that one step towards the middle of the field, it's just so hard because Hertz can blow right by you. Watch, that's exactly what he does. The 24 for Cincinnati, also not able to get over there in time. He gets there so quickly that he's able to get into the end zone for a touchdown. So again, you have just this added layer to everything. This makes the running game easier, right? Because now if you're the edge rusher, you want to make sure you don't let Hertz beat you, so you have to take a step to the side, which then means that you can, run the ball easier, right? So many things get opened up when you do something like this. There's just so much value in it. But heading over here, I thought this was the play of the game. So probably the biggest situation in the game. You see that it's 17-17 with just under 3 minutes left in the third quarter. So as I said, this was a game. Like, this was not a wire-to-wire blowout. Now, as we're going to see, the score finally ends up 37-17, and this was kind of where things started to get unraveled for Cincinnati. You have Smith running a deep shot against a cover 2 zone, which a lot of times these routes, you can often get into double coverage, and at the very least, there's going to be a safety covering Smith. However, when Hertz takes the snap, he's going to kind of, look around, eventually is going to fire down the field, and is more or less saying, hey, one-on-one matchup with Devonta Smith, who has gotten past the safety who's covering him, like, sure, let's give our guy a chance. And this is what I think when the Eagles are at their best, what they can do is they essentially force you to cover Smith and Brown, put 2 guys on those guys at all times, which then just completely opens up the door for them to work over the middle if they want to. It's like, how do you win? Here, look at that throw and catch. That's the big catch. Again, that's the one that kind of, I feel like, it put them up, but they were able to get a stop. Offense was able to start to get rolling a little bit, and they were able to have success. And I want to shout out, I know this is kind of a Jalen Herz video, but I want to shout out Saquon Barkley as well, because, again, he means a lot to this team. He really does. And, there was a lot of talk about, is someone like Saquon Barkley worth the contract? Not because he's a bad player, but it's the whole running back value thing. And listen, we can do that video another time of how valuable are running backs, but, he's a really good running back, and we're going to see it on a play like this. And really, again, I think this actually kind of goes into that discussion of running back value, but really, I just think they're blocking really well for him. Like, this play, it's going to be a run to the offense's left. You see that when they hand the ball off to Saquon right here. Look at that window for him to rush through. This is as easy as it gets. Saquon Barkley can't believe his eyes probably after playing for the Giants for all those years. Watch as he gets through that gap. Eventually, he's going to get tackled by safety, but that's part of why Saquon Barkley works so well with the Eagles as well, right? We saw this with the Christian McCaffrey going to the 49ers thing. The 49ers do a great job at scheming their running backs to the next level, but then you went out and got Christian McCaffrey, who does a great job at when he gets to the next level, making safeties miss and turning 20-yard rushes into 70-yard touchdowns. Saquon can do that as well. Didn't on this one, but hey, they'll still take the 15-plus yard rush because, again, that's what he's capable of doing. So yeah, they're firing on all cylinders right now. Yes, the Bengals defense has not been great this season, and they played Jacksonville and Philadelphia the next 2 weeks, and even the following 2 weeks of Washington and the Rams. Those defenses haven't been great, and honestly, even going through it, the next 2 games are Baltimore's, whose defense has been up and down, and Carolina, whose defense has stunk. So yeah, they might be doing pretty good this against some teams. They do eventually play the Steelers, but that's in the final, and that's the 4th to last game of the season. So yeah, I think they could really clean up. I think this offense could really do some damage against some of these defenses they're going up against. So yeah, huge bounce back for the Eagles after having kind of that tough, I don't want to say slow start, because they did beat the Packers week 1, but then they kind of did sputter a little bit, losing to Atlanta, losing to Tampa Bay, barely beating the Saints, barely beating the Browns. But past 2 weeks, hey, they're winning by a ton, and that's not easy to do in the NFL. I don't care who you're playing. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.